Hi everyone, thanks for tuning in again. We haven't done one of these in a while, and this one is going to be kind of ad hoc, but I really want to talk about this because it's super freaking awesome. So, if you're like me, you probably depend on your home network for a lot of stuff. It's literally your bread and butter. So you need fast, reliable, and optimized Wi-Fi that doesn't let you down. What happens in terms of Wi-Fi? So most people just get service from their ISP, and they just use whatever router, whatever access point kind of deal they send them, which is kind of like okay, but the access points that you usually get from your ISP are incredibly limited usually. For example, it may be incredibly difficult to port forward. You cannot customize anything in the system. Newsflash, if you haven't realized, your router is an actual computer running a distribution of Linux. So what if you want to do something more sophisticated with it? What if you want to, for example, be able to customize what services run on your router? What if you want to run a VPN interstitially? So all of the traffic that goes to your network is actually tunneled through a VPN. No matter if it's from a device like a TV or a smart device like a doorbell. What if you want all of that to run encrypted through the network, right? So you can do that through the use of a custom firmware. And this video is to share a few details about my custom firmware setup. I also like running custom firmware. I just got into that word because it is amazing the kind of things that you can get with it. One use case that I really love is ad blocking. It annoys me when I'm browsing the network on, let's say, my TV or a device that I cannot really customize like a tablet, an iPad, and I start getting ads everywhere because those kinds of smart devices usually don't have ad blocking software, right? So, turns out that through a technique known as DNS poisoning, you can actually inject a custom modified hosts file pointing to any bogus address for a lot of known ad networks and ad sites. And that way you can sort of null out traffic through ad services. So it applies to everything connected to your network. So the advantages of doing something like this again is that you end up with amazing Wi-Fi. You end up with everything on your network getting ad blocks for free, even TVs or anything. For example, if you watch Hulu on your TV, you get ad block on that. And a myriad of other stuff. I've seriously fallen in love with the fresh tomato distribution. Some people do something very similar with a solution called Pi-hole, where you hook up a Raspberry Pi to sort of serve as a spoof DNS server for your router. But it turns out, well, you don't actually need the Raspberry Pi. You can just run everything from your router if you use a custom firmware. To use a custom firmware like Fresh Tomato, you need a compatible router. My weapon of choice is the Netgear R8000. Let me show you. This is the R8000 that I got. So it is relatively expensive, but again, if you are like me and you need serious speed on your Wi-Fi, this is a worthwhile investment. So you sort of bridge your access point to this router through Ethernet, and then just run your wireless, your Wi-Fi networks off of this, right? So, but what's the problem? So if you get one of these things, when you boot it up and you try to land in the administration interface, you usually get this shit. And I hate this shit. Netgear, you should be ashamed of yourselves. Because to use it, you need to sign up for their little services and get their little freaking spam. And they try to get you to register your product. And they display ads in the administrative interface. Jesus, what kind of times do we live in? That's a blatant intrusion of privacy to give you ads on your administration interface. And this is like a Fisher-Price thing, right? A Fisher-Price version of that. So again, shit can be better. Introducing Fresh Tomato. So Fresh Tomato is an open source distribution of Linux, which you can flash onto the NAND on your router. You boot into it, and you literally get a command line that you can use to administer anything. You can SSH into your router, for Christ's sake. How do you install it? Well, first of all, make sure that you have a compatible router. The list is described here. I went for the R8000, which is here, which sort of serves my purpose as well, right? And then you download a version of the firmware compatible with that of this. For example, here, Netgear ARM7. Okay, so for example here, ARM7, because on the table that we saw before, we noticed that the architecture was ARM7 for that. So you will download one of these zip files, right? In this case, you will end up with this one. This one. Once you download that, you flash it as if it was the normal upgrade process that you do for any other firmware, right? So on the stock interface on Netgear, you have this, right? You have an option for router update. So you click here, and instead of the stock firmware that you will normally get directly from the vendor, you feed it this, right? You feed it the binary that you get off of that. Through the magic of television, I'm gonna show you the finished product. I cannot show you that process now because I sort of already flashed my thing, but let me log into Fresh Tomato, and this is how glorious it looks. Fresh Tomato. Oh, I love you so. So everything is running super smoothly, super efficiently. So you get this nice little visualization of what your interfaces are doing. Like, I'm gonna need a lot of that of the video because, oh my goodness, you cannot look at all of this. You get controllers for each one, administration options for each one of the wireless interfaces. I run a 2 GHz and a 5 GHz radio because some devices are better served by the 2 GHz and other devices are better served by the 5 GHz, right? And the Fresh Tomato even has an option for wireless band steering, where your router will allow devices to either get hooked up on the 5 GHz radio or to switch on the fly to the 2 GHz radio according to certain prerogatives or levels of service that it has. So, okay, so this is nice and dandy. So what else does it do? See, all of my devices are here. Nice and beautiful, everything living in freaking harmony. You get reports on your traffic. You can get these nice visualizations of everything that goes on. You get a really in-depth device log detailing exactly everything that's going on with your network, right? You get look at this beauty. You can get a shell here, right? You can do customize everything that's running at the actual system level directly on the machine. You can configure custom DNS servers. So I sort of do that to block traffic to very disagreeable sites. And this is the richest part of it all. So you can add block lists to a lot of different things, right? And all of this is content that's gonna be restricted flat out, iron fist, throughout your whole network. So I have a lot of ad server blocking, and this works with everything that connects to your Wi-Fi, and it works through DNS poisoning. So what is this? It's just a list of known exploiters and ad services and all that. The cool thing is that a lot of devices usually cache this information. So once you download that, you even can go on 3G or anything, and you won't see ads out of that. How cool is that, right? Because to them, it's as if ad services are effectively, just not responding, right? So what else do you get? Customized MAC addresses, customize protocol channels for your wireless radios, all of that good stuff. really easy port forwarding. This is really interesting for gamers because sometimes you may need to port forward if you want to host a server directly on your machine. What else? Set up a demilitarized zone, set up an AT, access restriction. If you're a parent, this will allow you to set rules so people cannot use the network at certain times of the day, for example. You can limit it only to certain devices. Quality of service, you can make it so one of the devices doesn't hog the whole bandwidth, which is great. Again, if you're on a household with really high traffic. And VPN tunneling, set up a VPN service so everything goes through the VPN directly at the router level. This is just so sophisticated. This just helps make things so much nicer in your network. And the difference is patently clear for me. I'm going to show you this, which is a stock Firefox without any ad blocking software. I'm going to show you how it behaves. There's no extensions, nothing of the sort. There's no ad block, right? So if we go here, I'm gonna block test. So ad block test. Again, I haven't set up any ad blocking, and check this out. No ads. No ads are visible. Can you block it? So this is a page where, like, you know, purposefully they embed a bunch of shady ads into it, so you can, you know, see if it works, see if things get blocked. And look at that. Look at that. No ads. No ads at all, right? There's like sneakier ones because ad blocking is kind of a cat and mouse game, and it's always gonna be, you know, it's always gonna be like that. Check this out. Hey. No ads. Look, ma, no ads. So, well, so I guess a few ads did trickle in, but, you know, most of the stuff is getting blocked. So you can set up really sophisticated rules with hooks to different events in the life cycle of the router. For example, when it emits, when something connects, when it shuts down, or the like. You can set up shell scripts so things happen automatically. So you can set up a little bit more automation. And there's a really big community on the Fresh Tomato forums, which, you know, they share a lot of scripts to achieve really nice things with it. The most common application, again, that I've seen is ad blocking, but ad blocking is sort of a first-class citizen on the firmware already. And again, you don't get any of this with the stock Netgear firmware. How cool is that, right? So I really recommend that you get on Fresh Tomato ASAP. Go buy a compatible router, flash it. You're never gonna look back. It is that great, believe me. Yeah, I think that's everything. But I hope that you enjoyed this little bit of a demo. See ya.